Welcome to the Podcasting Mentor Podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to stop hiding and start showing up on the right stages without the burnout. I'm Candace, podcast guesting strategist, and your go-to for turning interviews into your favorite marketing and networking tool. And guess what? My podcast guesting accelerator is now enrolling for summer. Yep, this is your sign to finally get off the sidelines and into the spotlight. Like my client, Kelly, who landed 8 guest spots in a single week after we worked together. She called it a no-brainer and said she'd 1000% do it again. That's the power of intentional guesting, and that's exactly what I'll help you do. Let's get brave, let's get strategic, and let's get you heard. Head to the show notes for more details on my podcast guesting accelerator. This summer, I had the chance to speak at an audio summit for moms running businesses from home or alongside motherhood. And this talk was all about communicating our needs, especially when the kids are home, weekends, summers, when it gets chaotic. And I thought this is a great time to just send this out to you. So I mentioned the summit, I mentioned things like that. But overall, this is what I got for you from teaching, being a mom of 3 young kids, and learning the hard way what happens when you just assume or wish people would be able to figure out what you want and what you need without saying it. Let's dive in. Hey there, I'm Candace, and I am a podcast guesting strategist and coach. I'm a mom of 3 young kids and a former teacher, so I hope to be able to package those experiences for you today and really bring you some actionable tips to communicate with your family about what you're doing and what you need. This is for you if you're working from home this summer, which I know you are if you're here at this summit. I help entrepreneurs, especially moms like you, grow your visibility, authority, and make an impact through aligned podcast guesting without adding to your burnout. I'm also the host of Podcasting Mentor Better Brave, a podcast that helps women navigate podcasting, business, and big dreams while still living real life. And I know firsthand that summer can feel like a swirl of snack requests, sunscreen, swimming lessons, summer rec, and the tiniest scraps of work time. It's easy to feel like your needs and goals get pushed to the side. So I want to really bring this home for you and give you some tangible tips so that you can clearly communicate with your family, especially your kids, about what you're doing and what you need. This isn't about perfection though. It's about clarity, calm, and confidence, even when you're working possibly in a house full of chaos. So the first part is to really reframe your thinking, reframe the guilt that sometimes comes with being a mother and trying to work alongside that role. The first shift I want you to make is that you're not asking for permission. You are the adults here. They're the kids. You are modeling boundaries. You're modeling self-respect, and you're showing your kids what it looks like to follow through on your dreams. And that's okay. Even and especially if you're a mother and a parent. Even if your business is small or part-time or still growing, it matters. You're allowed to ask for space and you're allowed to be excited about your work. You can be both a mother, both a parent, and not or someone growing a business. When I first started doing a lot of podcast guesting myself, I also have my own podcast, but when I started having to record, I had to have conversations with my kids like, hey, mom has a call this morning. I'm being interviewed. It's kind of like being on the radio. People are going to hear me talk about what I do. I really need it to be quiet for about 45 minutes. What do you think you can do to help me with that? Like, let's make a plan, right? That helped them see that it's not just mom on her phone, on her laptop. This was something specific and special that I was doing, and they didn't have to be kept in the dark about it. Now, the second part of that, though, is age-appropriate communication, right? My kids now are 7, 9, and 10. So I can really clearly tell them, hey, my work matters. I need your support. And it might look different if you're speaking to a toddler, right? Maybe you'll need like a visual cue when the red light is on. Mom's working. I'll come find you when I'm done. I'm not even saying you're leaving your kids alone, but maybe they're with dad. Maybe they're with an older sibling. Whatever it is, but they know that you're not available because of that stoplight or that door that is closed. You'll open the door when you're ready to be interrupted again, right? Something like that can be as simple for younger kids because they're probably not going to understand what your work is. But for elementary kids like myself, I might tell them I'm doing something important for my business today. I need it quiet for 30 minutes, or hey, can you go set up a coloring station or play with your Legos or head to the backyard, play with the dog. Our yard is fenced in, luckily, so they can do that. If you have teenagers, I would recommend being very respectful but direct. You can tell them this is how I support our family. This is how mom is working to build a business that she's proud of. One thing that I have found the most helpful in kids that are a little bit older, like mine and beyond, let them know when you will have time for them. So it's really helpful to say, I am working until 12 o'clock. I need it to be uninterrupted time. But at 12, I am unplugging and we're going to go to the library, or we're going to get to that thing at that time that you've been waiting for. That way they're not just wondering, is it ever coming? And they're bugging you and bugging you. So being really clear, being specific, and letting them know when that is going to happen. So I touched on this a little bit with the toddlers, but again, even for the big kids, that third part is that visual and verbal cues. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm working. It's another thing to show it. So some ideas, and one that I'm really planning to have, is a banner on my door or a sign that I can just hang that lets them know, one, if I'm recording, because that's a different kind of request, right? They know it needs to be actually quiet. Two, if mom's working and maybe I'm not recording and it doesn't need to be quiet, but I don't want to be interrupted because I'm trying to think. Other visual signs might be like a working hat. That's kind of silly, but you could literally put on a hat and that's their signal. So you don't have to do something or make something really big, but headphones on, right? I put headphones on if I'm going to edit a podcast because then they know mom is doing something. Putting on a kitchen timer or something like that, again, helps them know when this goes off. Again, it's not perfection. So obviously sometimes if the timer goes off, you may not be ready, but the more you can stick to that and be consistent, then they're going to trust that you are going to do what you say you're going to do, and that when you say you'll have time for them, you have time for them. It becomes a better situation, I feel like, for everyone, because you can feel really great about being really intentional when you're with your kids and present, but you can also feel great about that on the flip side, being present in your business. And again, you'll probably get interrupted. This isn't going to work perfectly, but it's going to work a lot better than if you don't communicate and you don't say anything, right? In the very beginning, I would try to work in the summers when they're home, and I would just assume in my head that my husband and my kids should be able to just know what I need. Probably in part because as a mom and a wife, you probably already can tell what your husband or your kids need. You're tuned into them all the time, but they're not like us. It is not going to be great if you don't actually say, and you just hope that they assume and they can figure out what you need. So it has gone so much better and worked out so many more times when I have communicated, when I've been straightforward, or when I've put stuff on our kitchen whiteboard calendar and marked, this is what mom's doing this time to this time. So they even know ahead of time those appointments or those meetings that you're going to have, those calls that you'll have, that those times can't be moved. Part 4, planning together, checking in often. Think of like a team, right? A team huddle. Talk about when are you going to be working, what you're going to be doing, what you need from them. Do you need it to be quiet? Do you just need them not to interrupt you? And then again, let them know when it will be their time. And so I like to plan that together and sometimes ask them, what are you hoping to get out of this week? Is there something that you've been dying to do that we haven't gotten to, that we want to take a look at our calendar together this week and see where it might be best to get this planned? And that kind of creates this shared momentum versus resentment of each other. And then here's just a couple phrases that you can kind of keep in your back pocket. You might say, hey, right now I'm working, but I'll be available in 20 minutes. And so for those younger kids, you can say, when that long hand on that clock gets to that 5, I'll be ready. So can you hold that thought or write it down if things come up? And that's when I'll be talking to you. Here's another one. When you give me quiet time now, I'll be able to give you focus time later. Or this meeting helps me grow my work, just like school helps you grow your brain. And if your brain is fried, here's a good one. Let's take a deep breath and figure this out together. Get in the same boat, figure it out together. Ultimately, if one of you is frustrated, the other one probably is, and vice versa. And it's just because that lack of communication or not knowing when your needs are going to be met, when you're going to have time for, when they'll have time with you and when you'll have time alone. And so to kind of pair that up and really communicate that. You're not just juggling work and kids, you're trying to weave them together in a way that works for your family. And I know that's not easy, but it is possible. And obviously, this isn't a surefire plan. Nothing is. Run the other way if someone tells you they have the plan that will work 100% of the time, because we know that that is not how raising kids and parenting goes and building a business. So podcast guesting for me has been a way to grow my business and serve more people, even during those summer hours, house full of kids, because I can hop on that call for 45 minutes to an hour, deliver a great message, feel great about that. And then that's working for me in the background because that becomes long form evergreen content that's searchable and allows me to be really visible and keep that momentum going for me with just a little bit of time that I have put in. So wherever you're at this summer, remember you are allowed to need space. You're allowed to ask for it. You're allowed to love your work and love your family. It's not an or situation. Thank you for listening. If you want to connect more, head to my website, CandaceDudley.com, or go hang out with me on Instagram or Threads at Candace Dudley. And if you ever want to learn how to grow your visibility in a sustainable, family-friendly way through podcast guesting, I would love to connect with you. All right, that's it for today. If this episode gave you a little aha or you're thinking about guesting on podcasts now, I'd love to hear about it. Screenshot the episode, tag me on Instagram at Candace Dudley, and let me know your biggest takeaways. And don't forget to come back next Tuesday for another episode.